आउज़ुबिल्लाहिमिनश्शैतानिर्रजीम बिस्मिल्लाहिर्रहमानिर्रहीम। अस्सलाम वालेकुम नाज़रीन, आप लोगों को वेलकम करता हूँ इस्लामिक फ़ाइनेंस एंड प्रॉपर्टीज़ के ऊपर। पिछले हफ्ते हम लोग बड़े अच्छे इंटरेस्टिंग किस्म के टॉपिक्स डिस्कस कर रहे थे, जिसके अंदर क्रेडिट रिपोर्ट का भी आया था। तो आज मैंने ये सोचा कि मैं किसी ऐसे शख्सियत को लेके आऊँ जो कि इस चीज़ के अंदर स्पेशलाइज भी करते हैं एंड दे अंडरस्टैंड दैट। तो मेरे साथ एक बड़ी डिस्टिंग्विश गेस्ट हैं हमारी, और खैर हमारे तो उनके साथ एक किस्म की दोस्ती भी है, और अ वेरी वेरी फाइन लेडी एंड अ बैंकर, एंड आई एम श्योर कि शी इज़ गोइंग टू बी एबल टू हेल्प यू विद ऑल योर क्वेश्चंस। तो सबसे पहले वेलकम करते हैं सादिया को। सादिया शफीक, अस्सलाम वालेकुम।
वालेकुम अस्सलाम।
क्या हाल है आपके?
अल्लाह का लाख लाख शुक्र, आई एम एब्सोल्युटली फाइन।
सबसे पहले तो मैं आपको ये कहना चाहूँगा कि आप ये कोरोना की दुनिया के अंदर फिर भी आप आ गई हैं। आपका वेरी वेरी नाइस ऑफ यू, वेरी ब्रेव ऑफ यू।
एग्जैक्टली।
लेकिन एज यू कैन सी हम लोग सोशल डिस्टेंसिंग तो रख रहे हैं।
Exactly.
अच्छा साथिया, आप बताएं कि आप यूर अ बैंकर एंड सो हाउ डिड यू गेट इनटू इट? किस तरह आपका जर्नी किस तरह बिगिन करी?
I would say coincidentally.
Acha.
I was studying, I was doing my master's, and actually surprisingly did my master's in defense and diplomatic studies, which is totally the opposite way.
Totally the opposite.
Opposite way, exactly. And while I was in the uni, we were asked to do an internship. And surprisingly, because one of my subjects were leadership and there was some finance related activities in there. So I then decided to see if I can find an internship in banking. And I think I did some 3 months time in the internship in the banking. And then the interest developed so much, and then loved the numbers, although I was far away from numbers. But I think it was in genes, because my father was double maths MSc. So I think some genes issue as well. So I just
पढ़ी लिखी family.
पढ़ी लिखी family.
तो फिर बैंकिंग के अंदर ही आप आ गए।
So exactly. Then I got set up in banking. Internship करने के बाद, when I completed my MSc, I just straight away joined a bank. And I think back home I did it for 4 years.
Back home means?
Back home in Pakistan, when I did it for 4 years with a local
पाकिस्तान में
bank.
कहाँ से आप?
Pakistan, I'm from Islamabad.
Achha, Islamabad.
Islamabad.
Okay.
So I did some banking period over there for 4 years. So once it was due to come over here, I still chose to continue the career from here. And then I just joined one of the good organizations in the UK, and I pursued my career. And mashallah, it's 15 years now, and I'm very happy that I made this choice.
Mashallah.
And you know, I would suggest that जब भी आपने किसी profession में जाना है, it has to be close to your heart. And I do think banking is one of them.
Fantastic, fantastic. अच्छा, आप थोड़ा सा हमारे नाज़रीन को भी बताएं कि there are, we're talking about Sharia mortgages and everything else.
Exactly.
I just wanted to go into a little bit of detail as well in terms of what kind of mortgages are available and so on and so forth. तो आप थोड़ा सा ज़रा explain करें कि ये 3 types of mortgages हैं. How do we just tell everybody?
Basically, I would say banking में जब हम आते हैं तो हमारे पास 2 types की banking है. One is very basic conventional banking, which I'm more involved in, and the other side we cover is the Islamic banking side. They're very, very different aspects of the banking, because Islamic banking is for sure Sharia compliant, where conventional banking is not. It is interest based, and it will cost you an interest which is not according to the Islamic laws.
Of course it's not.
It's not. So when we discuss about mortgages in Islamic compliant Sharia, there are 3 types of mortgages which we go for. First of all is Sharika, and then second one is Ijara, and third one is Marahiba. So these are the terms they've used to differentiate the type of products, I would say.
So what is the difference between them? So Musharaka mein what
Musharaka is, I think, is one of the most famous type of the Islamic mortgage, where people go straight into it. इसके लिए different Islamic banks ने different sort की products arrange की हुई हैं. तो मुशारका में ये होता है कि it's profit loss sharing. क्योंकि जब आप प्रॉफिट एंड लॉस बैंक शेयर कर रहा है, मीन्स बैंक इज टेकिंग द पार्ट ऑफ द रिस्क इज वेल. दैट मेक्स इट हलाल एंड दैट मेक्स इट शरिया compliant.
So instead of paying an interest, you then actually paying a rent on your which is already agreed with the bank.
With the bank. The way it works is आप एक घर खरीद रहे हैं और आपके पास 20% डिपॉजिट है, दैट्स फॉर द एग्जांपल. Every bank has got a different basic deposit requirements. Some people will ask 20, 35. It depends on which bank you're going to. So say if you've paid 20% of the deposit, rest 80% bank will share with you. So the ownership of the bank for that property will be 80% and your ownership will be for 20%. Over the time of the period, जो ही आप अपना वो रेंट पे कर रहे होते हैं वो आपकी एक्विटी में काउंट हो रहा होता है और आपकी एक्विटी ऊपर जा रही होती है, यानी आपका हाउस शेयर जो ओनरशिप है वो इंक्रीज हो रही होती है और दैट हेल्प्स यू डिक्रीज योर रिपेमेंट्स एज वेल.
एक मिनट है. सो बेसिकली व्हाट यू आर सेइंग, दिस इज एक्चुअली क्वाइट इंटरेस्टिंग एज
very
वेल. सो बेसिकली व्हाट यू आर सेइंग इज के as you're paying the rent,
yes,
you're actually paying a rent and you're paying the capital as well. Or जो capital appreciation है, is that also counted in it?
Yes. So you are actually paying towards the ownership of the house and you're reducing the amount.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
This is how it works.
अच्छा.
इसमें बहुत सारे फ़ायदे ये होते हैं कि क्योंकि बैंक आपके साथ ओनरशिप में होता है वो हाफ रिस्क ले रहा होता है, बैंक का और आपका रिस्क एक जितना है. सो एनी नेचुरल डिजास्टर, प्रॉफिट एंड लॉस, अगेन एनी नेचुरल डिजास्टर होते हैं, आपके हाउस में कोई प्रॉब्लम है, अगर उन्होंने आपके साथ प्रॉफिट शेयर किया है तो वो इस लॉस में भी equally शेयर करेंगे आपके साथ. So you're not actually left alone. Vice versa, if I talk about the conventional banking bank is purely based on lender-borrower relationship. So bank will lend you the funds and they will charge you an interest and then you the owner of the property, so you're kind of left alone to deal with everything. So you may have seen that जो ही आपको conventional bankers जो हैं lend करते हैं, they advise you to have a property insurance in place because in case of any natural disaster you'll have to make sure that you're insured because bank is not gonna share the loss with you because they take a charge on your property. So in case in case you paying late, there will be penalties charged. On the Sharia mortgages, that won't be the case. So you are not going to be charged any penalty. You can choose to pay extra in there as well. Say अगर आपकी monthly repayments उन्होंने fix करके आपको दी as a rent for 300 to 400 pounds, and if you 1 month have got extra funds, you will start paying towards that without a penalty. That choice is not held in the conventional mortgages.
Fantastic.
So that's one of the highlight for that, which
very much so, very much so.
Yes.
अच्छा, अब इजारा का भी थोड़ा सा आप explain करेंगे, how does that system, how does that product?
Right. Ijara is another kind जहाँ पे basically bank buys the property for you and they rent it out to you. इसमें आपके पास ये चॉइस नहीं होती कि आप जो रेस्ट ऑफ द ओनरशिप है जो बैंक के पास है वो भी ओन कर सकें. यू कांट पे टुवर्ड्स इट ड्यूरिंग द टाइम, यू जस्ट पेइंग अ रेंट एट दैट टाइम. बट एट द एंड ऑफ द टर्म से अगर ये आपके 10 साल के लिए आपने उनसे रेंट आउट किया है या 20 ईयर्स के लिए आपने रेंट आउट किया है, आफ्टर द एंड ऑफ द 20 ईयर आइदर यू सेल द प्रॉपर्टी and pay them the full amount and keep the profit if you've had one, or you can go ahead and buy the full by paying your own deposit which you've been collecting during that time. So at the end of 20 years you pay the full amount and own the house, or either
or you sell it and you basically take your जो बैंक के पैसे हैं वो वापस कर दें उनको, और जो आपको ऊपर मिले
वो आपके हो गए,
और अगर ऊपर ना मिले
तो then you have to live with it.
Right, okay. And the third one आप उसका भी बताएं. मरहबा.
Marhaba is generally used for commercial properties. Commercial properties in the Islamic banking. जो commercial properties में ये होता है कि bank actually buys it on your behalf and then rents it out to you. And more of that, the liability remains on the company, on Marahaba. So Marahaba is generally a commercial mortgage and it's very different than the other two. The other two are residential sort of.
Okay, but the concept is the same.
Concept is the same.
Pretty much. अच्छा अब आजकल obviously बात है ये कोरोना वायरस का दुनिया चल रही है, ठीक है, और इसके अंदर I know that the government is putting in new incentives and so on and so forth. So I understand कि you're actually dealing with the bounce back loans as well.
At the moment, yes.
So how does that work? उसको भी आप जरा बताएं थोड़ा सा जरा, but just a little bit more in detail in terms of who's applicable to apply for it, कौन किस तरह हो सकता है, and so on and so forth.
सबसे पहले टर्म्स एंड कंडीशन तो जो बाउंस बैक लोन की है, वो ये है कि आपको यूके में बेस्ड बिजनेस होना चाहिए, ठीक है, और आपका बिजनेस जो है एटलीस्ट 1 मार्च 2020 से पहले सेटअप होना चाहिए।
1 March 2020
से पहले सेटअप होना चाहिए।
ठीक है,
That's the
that was the
date.
first, that was our first lockdown.
Exactly. So that's where it has to be. It has to be started from there. And it has to be impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic. Because if you was not making profits or you was not doing well in your business prior to the lockdown and prior to the COVID, that does not make you eligible for this.
So, right, okay. So, in theory, what you're saying is that if you have a company before 2020,
2020, 1st March 2020.
you can apply for this loan, but as long as you are in some sort of a profit.
Yes.
Acha, what kind of profit are we looking at?
We're not looking at certain profits, at least that business was making profit and it was not loss making. So आप अगर कहें, क्योंकि ये impact, it has to be impacted by COVID-19. So अगर आप COVID-19 से पहले ही profit make नहीं कर रहे थे, it was a losing business, then it does not make you eligible for this product.
So once you've actually got the bounce back loan,
Yes.
तो फिर किस तरह, how does it work? I mean, like, when do you have to pay it back? What are the interest? Is there an interest on it? What's the situation?
Yes, there is interest on it, but government, because वो ये चाह रहे हैं कि आपके लिए एक ease हो जाए during the COVID, ताकि अगर आपने कोई चीज़ स्टार्ट की है तो उसको आप टाइम पे फिनिश कर लें, और अगर उन्होंने आपको सपोर्ट किया तो आपको इनफ टाइम दें टू रिपेमेंट के लिए, ताकि आप इतनी देर पे स्टेबल हो जाएं। उन्होंने आपको दिए हैं 18 मंथ्स, और 18 मंथ्स में ना आप कैपिटल पे कर रहे हैं ना आप इंटरेस्ट पे कर रहे हैं।
The first 18 months. So technically speaking, if you do take a bounce back loan for your business,
Yes.
for the first 18 months, you're not paying the capital and you're not paying the interest as well.
Both, yes.
So in essence, that does become an interest-free loan as long as you can actually pay it back after 18 months.
Yes, if you pay it back after 18 months, then there's no interest incurred to you, because that was a free period for interest.
Okay, and what is the interest? I mean, is it specific? Are they quite ये इतना interest होगा after the 18-month period?
Yeah, government ने guidelines दी हुई हैं banks को. So banks ने एक certain rate मुकर्रर किया हुआ है for the bounce back loans, and that's the interest which is charged. You will have to go on the government's website to look at the interest rates. It's not very high. It's very affordable, I would say. And after 18 months, that will be applicable.
हाँ. लेकिन सबसे जो अच्छी चीज़ है वो ये है कि the bounce back loan for the first 18 months, it's actually interest free. So technically speaking, you know, I mean, obviously बात है, मैं आपको फतवा तो नहीं दे सकता, और but it does comply to a certain extent with our values as well.
Yes, because if you're not paying interest and you manage to pay back the full amount within 18 months, definitely the interest is not incurred. So yes, it will fall under that way.
Fantastic. अच्छा ये बताइए, what is this CBILS, coronavirus business interpretation नहीं, अब मुझे बताओ, interruption.
Yes, business
loans.
interruption loans. They're same kind. ये भी government की एक scheme है. The amounts are the matter. Up to £50,000 you apply for the bounce back loans.
अच्छा, आपका ये मैं ज़रूर सुनूंगा, ठीक है। सबसे पहले हम लोग कॉल पे चले जाते हैं,
ठीक है,
सुनते हैं उनसे क्या कह रहे हैं। जी अस्सलाम वालेकुम।
हेलो, अस्सलाम वालेकुम।
जी वालेकुम सलाम, आपका नाम?
जी मेरा नाम ज़ारा है और मुझे इस्लामिक मॉर्गेजेस पे क्वेश्चन है।
ज़ारा, पहले तो आप ये बताएं कि आप कहाँ से बात कर रही हैं, कहाँ से बोल रही हैं?
मैं वेस्ट लंदन से बात कर रही हूँ।
वेस्ट लंदन से, जी जी हुक्म करें।
अच्छा, तो मेरा जो है सादिया से एक क्वेश्चन है।
जी जी।
सबसे पहले तो बहुत अच्छी इन्होंने इन्फॉर्मेशन शेयर की है अराउंड इस्लामिक मॉर्गेजेस। आई थिंक हमें बीइंग इन द यूके वी डोंट हैव मच नॉलेज अराउंड इस्लामिक मॉर्गेजेस। तो मेरा क्वेश्चन एक तो ये है कि अगर फॉर एग्जांपल आप जैसे नॉर्मल मॉर्गेजेस में आप अर्ली पेमेंट करना चाहते हैं तो आपके पास एक लिमिटेड अमाउंट होती है। फॉर एग्जांपल यू कैन ओनली पे अप टू 10,000 a year। तो इस्लामिक मॉर्गेजेस में क्या इसी तरह का कुछ होता है? अगर फॉर एग्जांपल आपकी कोई लॉटरी निकल आती है, कुछ भी हो जाता है और आप अर्ली रीपेमेंट करना चाहते हो, ज़्यादा करना चाहते हो या जल्दी पे ऑफ करना चाहते हो, तो उसमें क्या रिस्ट्रिक्शन होती है?
आपको समझ आई क्वेश्चन?
हाँ जी, बिल्कुल, एब्सोल्युटली समझ आ गई। Zara, thank you very much for asking this question and very relevant, I would say. again मैं differentiate करूँगी both of the mortgages, conventional and Islamic. Conventional में as मैंने पहले भी advise किया कि जब आप early repayments करते हैं तो आपको एक penalty pay करनी पड़ती है.
redemption penalty.
और फिर sort of redemption penalty और early payment इसको भी कहते हैं, early payment penalty भी होती है. तो the banks will in conventional side will charge you that. But जब आप Sharia law की तरफ आते हैं या Sharia compliant mortgages की तरफ आते हैं, you are not paying any penalty. So without penalty, whenever and whatever amount you choose to pay towards the ownership, you can go ahead and pay that.
I hope, Zara, you're happy with that answer. Thank you
That's-
so much,
that's
Radia.
excellent.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for calling. Thank you for the
Thank
office.
Thank you.
जी नेक्स्ट कॉलर पे चलते हैं जी. अस्सलाम वालेकुम. अच्छा चलिए ठीक है. अच्छा हाँ, आप बात कर रही थी ये अपना कोरोना वायरस के बारे में,
The interruption loan. So आपने मुझसे difference पूछा था, what is the difference between the bounce back loan
And the
the
interruption
coronavirus business interruption loan? They're same kind of stuff. The only difference between them is the amounts. Bounce back loan is maximum up to £50,000 you can apply for, and that is 100% backed by the government.
Okay, all right.
100% backed by the government for banks,
Okay.
not for the customer. So customer will remain liable to pay it back, but in case any defaults, anything comes back
So
in that line,
the banks are covered.
the banks are covered by the government. Any which way, they will first fall towards the company or the sole trader who's applied for it, and if they can't get it from there, then the government will 100% back this loan for you. C-bills is exactly the same kind, but the only thing, there are two things which differentiate. First of all, government only covers the 80% of the amount for the banks on this.
Okay.
So only 80%. So 20% is covered by, is covered by the business itself.
Okay. And what is there a limit on this as well?
Yes, maximum limit for C-bills up to 5 million. और यहाँ पे भी डिफ्रेंशिएशन आ जाती है सिक्योरिटीज़ की. अगर आप अप टू 250,000 पाउंड्स अप्लाई करते हैं तो देन आपको सिर्फ गवर्नमेंट गारंटी ही देनी पड़ती है. देयर इज़ नो अदर गारंटी वी आस्क यू फॉर. बट इफ it increases and if goes above 250,000, then it depends on the bank what sort of securities they're looking for. So every bank has their different criteria for securities.
So what about the interest on this? I mean, is it frozen for the first 18 months or is
this is for 12 months. Again, you're not paying any capital and interest on that.
And again, वही वाली बात आ गई ना कि it you know, obviously बात है, like I said कि मैं, you know, I'm not a Islamic scholar, but if you are taking back a bounce back loan, it is interest free for the first 18 months, where you don't actually have to pay back the capital or the interest. After that, it does become a bit more like a conventional loan. And the same thing with the C-bills as well. I think it's for the first 12 months.
First 12 months,
And
yes.
then after that, it becomes like a conventional loan.
Exactly.
Fantastic. That's brilliant. Acha, you know, with this coronavirus and everything else that's going on, you know, obviously the banks are, you know, sort of changing tax as well in terms of, और जो अभी announcement भी हुई थी with the chancellor, जिन्होंने कहा था कि look, you know, for first-time buyers, first of all, they've actually extended the stamp duty.
Exactly, which is a very good news for the first-time buyers. It's very easy for them to now get at least on the ladder.
Exactly, especially with the stamp duty. I think, in essence, you know, I think that's really, really fueling the property market as well. Certainly without a doubt.
Certainly without doubt.
और
Absolutely.
जब से ये extension हुई है, आप लोगों को पता होगा, I am an estate agent. We've actually had more buyers coming into our office in terms of, you know, more interested in taking out or buying a property. So the stamp duty certainly has helped. But also the 5%, ये जो 5% का इन्होंने first time buyers का, इसका ज़रा थोड़ा सा आप बताएं कि I know it's being implemented in April, isn't it?
Exactly. So 5% is what is the deposit for the house you're looking for. But you have to be very careful with this offer. Do not go and choose the expensive properties because you have to make sure that you hold enough deposit Number one, that is one of the.
Well, 5% deposit to ho gaya, but I think there is a
There are other
limitation in terms
aspects,
of
yeah.
how much you can borrow as well.
Exactly.
What's
So
the
there are
affordability
other aspects
like?
involved.
जी, वो उसका आप ज़रा बताएं.
Actually, yeah, which actually, you know, that's why I just said that don't go for very expensive when you know that, oh, it's just 5% and I can go and apply for any sort of house and I can pay that towards that. There is something which is called, we will say your monthly salary and monthly income. Or
Affordability.
yearly, the affordability, that's where it comes. So every bank has a different criteria. Some banks are going for 4 times your salary and 4 times your income. Or some banks are going 5 or 6 times as well.
Acha, right, 5 and 6
6
times as well.
But that may be unconventional. When we come towards Islamic banking particularly, it will be 4 and 4.5. That's the mark. That's the mark for the Islamic banking side if you're applying the mortgage over there and you want to take that. So that's what I'm saying. 5% is a good news, but there are other things which are sticking to it, and we have to.
I think it's
be very
more to do with the thing is that although the government is helping about with the 5% deposits and everything else, लेकिन ये लंदन के अंदर तो it's आपकी जो startup prices ही हैं वही बहुत ज़्यादा हैं. So maybe the north of the country.
Maybe the north of the country, yes, I would say, and you do. It is quite a lot. We do have quite a large number of Muslims, rather on the northern side of the England, rather than within the London. So.
Thank you, Sadia. अब नाज़रीन मैं तो ये कहूँगा कि आप लोग ज़रूर फ़ोन इन करें और आपके कोई भी क्वेश्चंस होंगे जिस तरह ये बाउंस बैक लोन है, सिबिल्स है, क्रेडिट रिपोर्ट है. क्रेडिट रिपोर्ट के ऊपर लास्ट टाइम भी हम लोगों ने टच किया था, लेकिन आई एम गोइंग टू टच अ लिटिल बिट मोर thoroughly today. तो आप ज़रूर फ़ोन करें और Sadia is here and ask her as many questions as you want और I'm sure कि she'll help you out. अच्छा Sadia, coming back, last time हम लोगों ने यहाँ बात करी थी credit reports की and there was a little bit of a concern and so how does the bank look at the credit report? I know it's a very small part of the business.
Very small part of the business, because generally banks have automated systems where they have in a company. I'd give an example. Experian is one of them. So different bank has different credit report agency they follow up with. So systems are attached to it. So banking has a system where they input all their data which they've achieved from the customer and what they've seen in the financials and everything, and then they let the system do the search and the system will come back with a decision. So we actually don't get to see the reports directly ourselves before making a
आप लोगों को
decision.
सिर्फ एक नंबर मिल जाता है
We get a decision straight away.
creditworthy or not.
और हमें वहाँ पे ये भी inform कर दिया जाता है if there is any issue in the credit report. So इसमें भी बहुत सारे aspects ऐसे होते हैं कि sometimes by mistake the credit report has been not provided the full report. So वहाँ पे हम उनसे full report demand करते हैं और देखते हैं कि past में ऐसा क्या हुआ या जिसकी वजह से credit report correctly नहीं आ रही है. तो उसमें भी बहुत सारे एस्पेक्ट्स हम चेक करते हैं और अगर हमें लगता है कि दिस कैन बी चेंज्ड, देन हमारे जो अंडर राइटर्स होते हैं वी कैन राइट टू देम एंड से दिस वाज द रीजन एंड द कस्टमर हैज क्लैरिफाइड, तो इट डजंट लुक लाइक, सो वी कैन समटाइम्स ओवरलुक दैट
there is a human aspect
as well.
All
But
right,
that
okay.
comes at the very stage where we actually see that every other aspect which we want to cover, like affordability, viability, and every other thing is fully covered. And there's a glitch in the credit report. We'd like to see that and see if we can try and fix that as well within the part of the banking side.
आप से अभी मैं और गुफ्तगू करूँगा क्रेडिट फाइल्स के ऊपर ही और क्रेडिट रिपोर्ट के ऊपर भी. नाजरीन, हम लोग एक छोटी सी ब्रेक पे जा रहे हैं. उस पार मैं और सादिया आपका इंतज़ार करेंगे. बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया. सी यू इन अ बिट. थैंक यू.